indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I get agenda approval. I had 5 more.
Like to amend the agenda for this evening and into new business. Add number 5 on possibly a COVID update.
Second.
Any other additions? Seeing none, I will take it. Bob,
Yes.
all those in favor?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, the public participation policy applies to all selectmen meetings. A copy of it is on the back of each agenda, posted in the meeting room and on our website. Public input limited to 3 minutes per person on agenda items only. Right, seeing none. No appointments, old business, highway department, Loon Cove Bridge, design build. Kidman.
In your packet, memo that I put together along with a recommendation, a design build RFP. It's a very aggressive gate structure for the main purpose of being able to try to meet DES guidelines relative to construction period. From what I understand, that these folks that are set up to do this type of business, this type of work all the time as far as putting these things and cranking them out in a short amount of time. It is a little bit shorter than what I would like, but I don't think that going any longer. We have a list comes right from the state DOT relative to these folks that we would send the invitations to. So it's kind of a specialized situation versus it going out to just general vendors. So I think the aggressive schedule would be fine if in fact the board found that at the end that you didn't feel that you had good enough proposal that was put forward, then you may want to consider.
And we have the money in the account to fix that.
Depending on how the bids come in, but preliminarily, from what I've been on the design build, we did have an idea from one vendor that we could do that within the funds that are currently in the CRF, which I believe is about $287,000 in there now. And that we would be able to do it within that window. It does put everything on the bidder, in a design build situation for them to put all that information forward and basically do all necessary calculations. And of course, they have to follow the DOT bridge building standards relative to that. So.
I think it looks good.
I think you can get it all done by August 30th.
Well, as far as getting the project done,
No, I mean the
getting the bids in.
bids.
Getting the bids, yeah.
Well, that's what, once again, I think we'd send out the solicitation, immediately, starting first thing tomorrow morning, crank those right out to everybody. If the board was okay with the, what I've laid out here relative to the, how we're gonna actually operate it. So part of this actually goes not only by, somebody putting a design build forward, but it's also a quality-based selection process. As you saw in there, there is certain, based upon what somebody's previous performance is, which I think is a high value in these type of situations.
Yes.
To have that type of information and for the board to be able to have that and as well. I think we've actually seen that in the last couple bids that we've actually gotten from a couple that they've actually put that forward, which I thought was very helpful in It's a selection process, even though they may not have been the low bidder. They had a lot of qualifications that, brought it to the value of what their bid was in that situation there.
I like the idea in the minimum bid qualifications of showing at least 5 design build bridges in the last 5 years.
Yes. Yeah, the folks that do the design build type bridges certainly are equipped. I've been told that there are probably, I think there was, and Brock, you may have run into this when you did yours, but what I've been told is probably half a dozen or so that may be within the New England area that may be equipped, to really be able to do these types of bridges.
Sorry, Scott.
Go
I
ahead.
apologize. Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
We spanned a 40-foot bridge with a firm. All prefabbed, and the bridge was done in 22 days and back up running, and away we went. The next closest competitor to that was at $1.5 million, and it was going to take him 300 days to build it on site. The company came in, they did it, and it was prefabbed. Everything was done to spec. It was an HL 93 bridge, which means you could land a Boeing 747 on it. And he saved us about just shy of $900,000. So that was, these new bridges are designed to help the small towns out that don't have millions of dollars sitting in the bank to.
Right. I did look into the aspects of the ARPA funding. And Liz may be able to speak on that as well, but I didn't find in that, based upon what some of our criteria is right now, I didn't see that we would be able to actually utilize additional funds from the ARPA side of things for this type of a project. And, you have to show a loss and revenue and some other things to qualify for more of the road and bridge side of things versus some of the other allowabilities within that funding. The other thing is right now, I know you had wanted to look into at one point in time and have in the past looked into as far as the New Hampshire DOT, bridge fund. And, they used to call it the 10-year fund.
Way out
Now
further
it's
than
out
that.
12 to 15 years. And right now there's no real forecast as to what that's going to be. They are very hopeful, I'll tell you, as all the other state agencies are. We heard the other day, even from DES, that they're hopeful that with the ARPA money, that they're all going to get a chunk of it, which I hope they do, because there's tons of bridges out there in every community and state.
The problem with the state aid bridge program, though, is there's so many red listed bridges in New Hampshire that are twice the size of a bridge in Loon, Cove. You're gonna put in for that money and they're gonna say, listen, this bridge doesn't qualify when we got one that's red listed on 93. So you're gonna go out the next 15 years. They're gonna put that on the back burner. It's not, that state aid bridge program really isn't designed to help. It is, but it isn't to help the little guy.
What's the TV? Federal government with the infrastructure programs now, they're supposed to be funneling money to the states. I think we should be really looking at that as far as future projects too.
I think Liz brought that up the last meeting about what's coming in, didn't you? Yeah, you sure you did?
This is a red
Something
list.
is starting.
This little culvert is red listed. And at the water line, it is rotted.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, no, it definitely needs to be replaced.
I make a motion that we allow Scott to send this out to bid. Hopefully we can get it back by the end of the month.
As presented.
As presented,
As presented.
Design build.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next we go Highway Department, bucket truck purchase, replace of the 2002 Forestry vehicle.
Oh, I put,
Roadside mowing.
oh, I'm sorry, you want to do, which one you're on? Oh, roadside.
Put in
mowing.
the agenda, Mr. Chairman. Roadside mowing contract.
was next.
Yeah, that's not
Oh,
on the
yeah.
top. Oh,
Roadside mowing.
Here we go.
Old business.
I'm on. old.
You're on new
Okay.
business.
Roadside mowing.
Yeah, this is pretty cut and dry.
Straightforward.
Yep.
And this is the same company we've had,
It's the same
Yes.
price. It's
same price.
He's willing to hold the price for another 2 years at the same rate as what we're at right now. We're at year 3 with the current contract. And he's currently mowing in town right now. I did look at some of his work today. Looks neat, clean.
He's done a good job for us.
Yep, I wish I had more money to give him because the growth is at it really, as you can imagine with all the rain, we've had quite a bit of growth along with it. So,
Has it been pretty much the same areas all the time, or you've had some new areas that you've been?
yeah, so the way
Address it.
Ken explained it to me was, he only had so many dollars and so he kind of busted the town up into quarters in order to try to get the town mowed. So realistically, right now, based upon what your funding level has been previously, you're basically only getting about 25 to 30%
Right.
of the town mowed each year. So that's hopping around, not doing the same roads, but moving around the communities. So right now he's mowing in what I call South Alton down the 28 section down there. He's on Stockbridge Corner Road.
Okay.
I think today, when I saw him this morning, first thing he was actually on the New Durham side. So that, once again, you try to do the best you can with the funds that you have.
Right.
But, generally a town, I'll be honest with you, and you'll see this and we'll talk about it, I'm sure, during the budget process, is a town of this size with 95 miles of road, you're probably looking at somewhere, and he and I have talked about this, the mowing fella. You're really talking about spending probably close to $35,000 a year in order to mow the whole town and get it all mowed. I used to mow 77 miles of road, and it was about 31,000. That was in 2016. So just to give you an idea as to where that is. I think it is a critical piece within the infrastructure to try to keep up on, because it does help out with your ditching maintenance, as far as keeping that mowed down, sight lines, of course, in and around signs and, where these end of culverts are and such.
So do we need a motion to,
Yes.
I move, we exercise the 2-year clause on roadside mowing by Telco Enterprises LLC.
I'll second.
More discussion. Do we want to send out the bid or? This guy's done a good job. for us.
Yeah, and
I think he's doing a good job,
that's pretty competitive pricing right there. That's,
Oh, yeah.
but.
Yeah, I
and this
thought
is
the
for 20
pricing was, and I did look back on the history, and when you bid it out 3 years ago, the closest bidder was over $25 more per hour.
Mhm.
It was $110 per hour for roadside mowing at that point in time.
that's a good price right there.
This is for extension for 2 years for 2022 and 2023. That's in your motion.
Yeah, continue in the contract.
Okay, all those in favor? All right, Highway Department, right-of-way permit, directional boring Hollywood Beach Road.
I've reviewed the permit request by the property owner and have forwarded it to you folks for your review and hopefully your approval. I do recommend that, I think based upon the criteria in which we've set up for the directional boring underneath Hollywood Beach Road, meets the guidelines that, hopefully we're not going to have a problem. I've only had an experience in one community with directional boring. Unfortunately, it was done improperly and it did cause a problem with the road. Caused it to have a sag in the road because it was bored too shallow. In this one here, you'll see that I've requested it be 4 feet below ditch line. I believe that will get it below the freeze thaw. I mean, we all know that things in roads, they freeze quite a ways down, but that should get down below that. In this situation here, that should put it pretty close to being about 6 feet down below the paved road surface itself. And the contractor feels that he felt that was fine.
Now, this came in front of planning board. Moving the system across the road because it's so wet down in where the cottages are, they can't really get a good replacement system.
You can see that.
So that's why they took a lot and split it across the street. To be able to take a lot, to put it for the system, and we agreed on planning board that that was probably the best to keep it away from the lake.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got a lot of those in town.
Do. And that's where it was flagged off on the stakes as to where it was gonna go across. and under.
Yes. Yeah, he took the photographs. I've been up by there and I wanted the photographs so you folks could see it. So you would have it, so you'd have a full bit of an understanding. He's followed all the, guidelines, been right on it. I'll be honest with you. I developed because we didn't have a so-called street excavation and or directional boring type permit or application. So I kind of drafted up something to give him a little something to go by. And he did have to leave the country because of a family engagement that he had to go to. His son was getting married, and he says, he, in good faith, he gave us a check for $8,000 for surety. And I said, the Board of Selectmen, may change that. And he said, well, whatever it needs to be, we would hold that. I told him for 18 months. That's been my experience. So you would hold it for 18 months to get through a complete freeze and thaw cycle.
Now, do you think 8,000 is enough?
I think with directional boring, a lot of times if you end up having a street excavation permit, depending on how big your trench area is going to be, you would get, close to 10,000 or more. You kind of look at it as to what you're going to end up having into it if in fact it fails. Now, granted, you always get insurance certificates and those types of things there. And my experience has been if you had an actual open trench situation fail, generally you make the contractor come back and fix it. But if some people could, certainly not either be indigent in some form by going out of business, and then the town could be left holding the bag that way.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I recommend that the board authorize, if you still have the check, it probably should go into an interest-bearing escrow account for those 18 months with the selectmen as the agents.
It
So-
has to anyways.
Right,
I was gonna
so-
say, turn it over to planning board. 'Cause we have all sorts of the checks down there with bonds and stuff.
Laura,
But we can do that.
Well, he's here speaking to the board now for the project. I guess either the planning, what would you recommend? BOS or planning board?
I think it would be the select board
I think too.
in this situation here, because it comes under the highway ordinance or policy
Regs,
and
the highway
regulations. So, and that speaks to the surety portion of that. And this is actually a surety would be held just like town administrator mentioned, that, be held in an escrow account for that time period. And I did speak with Laura about that, and she said that that's how she would set it up. And I was just supposed to cue her in as to if it was approved by the board, she would make sure it's set up in that type of an account.
So the treasurer would hold it in the bank and it would be an interest-bearing account and the selectmen would be the agents.
So if
How
it
we've
did
done the
fail,
others.
then you could actually use that money.
Yep. So that's going to need a
More
motion.
discussion.
No, I'm all set.
Motion.
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the right-of-way permit application for boring on Hollywood Beach Road at Fern Hill Road
Second,
as presented this evening by our public works director.
second.
And put the bond check in a escrow account.
Okay.
Interest bearing. Escrow account.
Have to be anyways.
Paul seconded it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Next is Highway Department bucket truck purchase replace of the 2002 Forestry vehicle.
This, we just actually, utilize the muni, if I want to say this right, municipal bid process there for selling our surplus equipment. So, in matter of fact, the Dodge pickup just sold for $725. So that's,
720.
that will be, we'll be parting company with that shortly. And in doing that, of course, I monitor that as to what's going on that. And sometimes you can actually find somebody else's nice piece of equipment's been taken care of in that situation there. This one here, and I've kind of outlined it a little bit, was with the Dartmouth, Massachusetts fire precinct down there. It's a fire alarm truck, and it's a bucket truck, 32 foot. Has full cabinets on it. It's been garaged the entire time. Has 25,000 miles on it. Has hydraulics to the boom and to the bucket, so it can operate a hydraulic pole saw. And I would like to see us purchase that. And I had in my CIP plan, in the plan to, when they decommission the 2002 Forestry, which is in next year in 2022, to purchase a used bucket truck for the purposes of cutting overhang on our town roadways. Also can be used for putting up flags, can be put up Christmas lights, many different other things. You know, we have our buildings and grounds folks there putting up the flags in the back end of a pickup truck on a ladder, which is not a good, safe operation. And so I'd like you be able to utilize it for that function as well. If in fact there's some repairs that need to be done on any lighting if have any outside lighting, such as the poles down in the bay, if you end up having to change light bulbs or whatever on any of that, you could utilize the bucket truck for that as well. We would also utilize it for as a tool carrier. So in other words, if in fact, right now that 2002 Forestry, we use that vehicle for our excavator operator when he's out on doing construction projects and he's ditching right now up on Avery Hill Road. He takes that with him. So he has, tools. So if he needs to make a repair, grease guns, those types of things there. But that's what I would like to utilize that for. Initially in the CIP plan, I think the CIP plan to replace the 2002 was right around, 40 some odd $1,000, 46,000, if I remember right. If we could purchase this for 25,000, we're up to 25,000. I checked just before I came up. The bids are up to 17.3.
Just gonna ask that because this was written a while ago, so.
Right, yeah, this, it's up to 17.3 as of this afternoon, just before I came to the meeting. There's been a little bit more of an upkick because it's getting towards the end of the time, which is actually on Friday when the bids are, when it closes.
The 20th it closes.
That you would,
Think a 97 is going to hold together.
Well, as clean as it is in the pictures, what I would do is if the board was, going to give the authorization based upon the mechanics review, I would send Warren down there and go
Take a
right
look
through
at
the
it.
truck, and view it, which they're perfectly fine with. Would afford him whatever he needed to take a look at it. I mean, all the pictures underneath, everything looks
certainly has
Clean.
low miles.
clean and dry, no rust on the bottom of the doors. The 7.3, in my opinion, the 7.3 turbo diesel is probably one of the better of all those motors. I had problems with 6.4s, 6.0s, even a 6.7, I hate to say, but
Because it'd be 22, 23 years old.
And it is.
That is the better one.
right.
I just had a couple of concerns. I've been through the bucket truck.
Yep.
Refab myself. We took an old 6-wheel dump truck,
But the,
put a new bucket assembly on. A Versalift, which is the same one. They're one of the best ones. The only problem with bucket trucks is they have a dielectric boom. As this truck, I imagine it has it if it's a Versalift.
Right.
Those should be inspected annual.
Correct. Yep. In this one, according to the,
Yeah.
everything
it's-
there, it says
it
it is,
had a basic inspection.
yeah, it's had both a vehicle inspection and also the lift inspection. You do have to have your lift inspection done as Bob mentioned, you do have to have those done annually. I used to have mine all done by RBG out of Raymond. I had a bucket truck built when I was in Molten Borough. And we took basically like Holt mentioned, we ended up taking a cabin chassis, a 450 cabin chassis, which was a long wheelbase, and we put first a lift on it with a flatbed, and then we put a cage over the front of the cab on it.
Yeah, I noticed this didn't have a cage.
So,
Something you could always fabricate.
right, Warren felt that, if that was something, we could probably end up doing that relatively inexpensively with welding that up and putting that on.
Well, you'll find, believe me, you'll find we'll use that truck more than you know.
Oh,
Do you have any
it's on
idea?
our roads.
Oh, yeah.
So,
If they're replacing it with another bucket truck, do you have any idea as to the purpose of them getting rid of this one? Is they looking for something with a larger boom? Or,
I'm not exactly sure. I'm guessing, and I haven't talked with any of the command people down there. We can certainly find that out. But
just curious.
I'm thinking that, they just figured it's time to turn it over and
aged out.
sell a new one. Fire service, sometimes they hang on to things. If in fact as we all know, sometimes some of those vehicles don't get a lot of miles on them. In that situation there, I was kind of curious as to what a bucket truck does on the fire alarm situation, but guess they work on fire alarms, or sometimes the fire alarms are also involved in signals, traffic signals, if they have the interceptor units on them for emergency vehicles. But the only thing I could figure, unless it was a fire alarm on the outside of a building, I don't know.
It'd have to be.
For 25 grand, if it's got an oil pan underneath it and the cab's still there, it's not, I mean, I'd rather see that than a $250,000 bucket truck.
You do.
Oh, exactly.
So,
As long as everything's still, like Bob was pointing out, the inspections have been every year. The logistics of the whole bucket itself and arm extension is all in good shape, and in a year's time, we don't start having trouble with that and having costly repair bills.
Right.
being a fire truck, you'd think they'd have some of these reports and whatnot from
sure they
the
would.
previous years to make sure that it's been kept up on too as well, but I wouldn't do anything without the mechanic looking at it.
Right.
See, there's also a ANSI inspection that's supposed to be done on bucket trucks too. That's basically OSHA generated.
Yeah, they do a bucket inspection, make sure there's no cracks and make sure there's no holes in them. I'll never forget when we first got our bucket truck, there's a cover that goes over the bucket itself, and the guys once they didn't put the cover on, and it filled up with water. It got water on the bottom of it. Well, they wanted to drill a hole in it, and no, because once you do that, it totally voids that.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
bucket's
That
junk.
section, that dielectric
Electric.
Yeah.
has to be completely, so there is a lot of criteria that goes along with that. On that side of it. That's why I thought with the fire service, I think, Selectman Mitchell mentioned there, as far as hopefully there's good records there and we have that. Like I say, I didn't want to deploy Warren down there on a, kind of a goose chase just for the, without the Board of Selectmen's blessing that, we may be able to bid up to that amount.
Do you know what the reserve is? Is it?
There's no reserve.
There's no reserve.
15,001 right now.
All right, so in other words, that they didn't have a cap, or what they actually put it out there at.
I say that they didn't. I noticed at the first, I'm a subscriber to it, and so I can go on and look at that history. So on the history on that, it looks like the first bid that was put out there was 15,000. So when I talked with Warren about that, because he sets up ours on the computer, he does that with ours as well. Like with the chipper, you would set a minimum. We put at 5,000. He put
Right.
that first bid on there at 5,000 versus putting a reserve and then letting people start at $100. That way they know right up front, there's already one in here for the 5.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that's what they used as their base was the 15.
Said you wanted to go down and look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. But bid closes the 20th, that's Friday.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would need to
Yeah,
have
so
the
you need to-
authorization to bid up to a certain dollar amount. If in fact we want to try to seal the deal, so to
Mhm.
speak. Because they've contracted with this company. And the company also is a 9% that they get. So in other words.
Buyer's fee.
Buyers,
Mhm.
yeah, we pay the company that's what they, how they market it.
Mhm.
That's very similar to what we do. We would pay the fire precinct directly from the town for that amount, and then the other part would be charged, I'm guessing, to our credit card or whatever, our account. Yeah,
So you're looking at 30,000, but if you have to go to 25
Recommended 25.
He's recommended a 25.
plus
total.
9%.
I was gonna, I was, well,
Mhm.
I
That's
look,
with the 9.
Yeah.
yeah, I was looking
It is
at it
with
with
that.
the 9,
Okay,
that, so you're gonna be at what, 22
Mhm.
change?
okay.
I don't think you'll get it.
I think I might get outbid, but
You
Yeah,
never
Yeah, I think
know.
you might,
You
It's
never
at
know.
17-1 now.
you might.
15
Did you say
one.
it was
it's at 17.3 right now.
Oh.
17-1 when I saw.
There's been a little bit of activity. Like I say, I checked it
Not
this
much.
morning at 7 AM. It was 16-1. And then over the weekend, it was pretty quiet. But once again, these usually become active, just
Right
like
at
it
the
was
end.
with our pickup truck.
Right at
Right
the
at the
end.
end, it was,
Yeah.
there was $25 here, $50.
There you go.
Make a motion that we approve the recommendation of the Public Works Director to purchase after reviewing and looking at with the town mechanic for a 1997 Ford F-450 7.3 liter diesel utility 32-foot bucket truck with a cap of $25,000.
I'll second it for discussion. We had a question. Can we, if we bid on this, okay, and I mean, it closes on Friday and you go down there and look at this truck and it's not what it's all chalked up to be, can we back out of that bid?
You're
We
going
would go
down.
before.
You're gonna go to, you're gonna go down
Oh, yeah.
before
They're gonna look
Friday?
at it first.
Okay.
Or it'll
When
be in the
Warren
truck
comes in
tonight.
tomorrow morning, I'll see if,
It'll be in the truck
If it,
tonight,
if
Warren.
it doesn't look good, you're not even gonna bid on it.
no, I would want him to, I'd put it in his hands to
That's
kind of
what
look.
we-
Like we've done before.
And I know he's done that, like when you bought a couple fire trucks.
Yes.
and
Fire trucks.
Done it
Stuff
before.
secondhand, he traveled and went and looked at them. And he's got a good eye for it. so.
Yeah.
Seems to have. Any more discussion?
Other questions?
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we go Solid Waste Department, 3-year brush chipping bid.
Hi, good
How you
evening.
doing?
This is, put the brush out to bid for 3 years, starting 2021, 22, and 23. Been the same guy for the last 9 years.
Yeah.
Usually get 2 or 3 bids.
I just have one question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
We locked into the 3 years?
well, we can terminate a contract at any time.
Yeah, no, what I mean is it's we're going out for a 3-year term of chipping. But we're not locked in for the 3 years, or are we?
Yeah.
I think we're locked in for the 3 years.
Well, we're locked in, but we can terminate a contract at any time.
Well, yeah.
It's usually written right in them.
I know we could terminate a contract for reasons, yeah.
You gotta do it because
This is
This is just a copy from the last time.
yeah,
You gotta get it chipped up, get rid of it.
make motion to
Are you
allow
done?
Scott to put out the brush chipping bid for 3 years without the bid.
I'll
Second.
second it.
Oh, yeah, I second. Whoever called it.
Discussion.
Just a question, just out of curiosity, how long does it normally take when they come up and start chipping with the size?
Usually if he starts first thing in the morning, usually by the end of the day, he's done, other than
Really?
hauling it out, yes.
That quick?
Yeah.
'Cause I've never been up there.
Day
while
and a
it's
half, two tops, but
Yeah, you ever
it's usually
watch
one
that?
day of
done. No, I
grinding.
haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's quite a machine.
Fast as they
Pretty,
stuff it
pretty
through.
quick. I figured a couple of days.
No,
Fast as you can feed it.
Yeah,
It's worth going up and seeing them.
yeah.
That's the sake of.
You gotta give me a call when
Stuff
you
it
do
in,
it. I have
it's-
to see that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Police Department, in cruiser tablet proposal. They're expensive.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
In front of you should have a memo outlining the request, but just to highlight it. So currently we have Patrol PC tablets that are in all of our cars. I think you've seen them. They're directly connected to our spots terminal via hotspots in our cruisers. They automatically download into our hard server system at the station when we come in. They're an integral part of law enforcement in today's day, today's age, technology age. We have the ability to run people's backgrounds, run their vehicles, run serial numbers for guns, check for previous criminal history in other states. It's very important for us to be able to put that information in our officers' fingertips. And one of the main people that need the use of some of that information is our detective. And you know that we made the swap with the pickup truck, and it's been a great asset. It's really proven to be even better than expected as far as what it's allowing us to do. So one of the issues is that is the only vehicle that does not have a patrol PC or an in-car tablet. So Lieutenant McDougal had reached out every year. We do the highway safety grants. So highway safety is a great resource for us to obtain grants and grant funding. And they had money left over that we could apply for this year. So we applied for a supplemental to our original request, and we were awarded $2,000, which is the max that they will award on a tablet like this. And one of the conditions is we have to do Buy America, which means that the company has to be certified as a Buy America, American made, all products. And Patrol PC has met that threshold and has proven it already to highway safety. That's why we've purchased them in the past. And we did recently. I submitted you when we did our new cruisers. We went through an entire bid process on the tablets, and by far Patrol PC was the lowest bidder for what they were offering as well.
This is gonna match the rest of them.
It is. We have this entire system is uniform throughout our fleet.
That's
So
why I
this
wanna
would
make sure
maintain
that
it.
we don't end up different.
No, we don't want to do that
Yeah.
because that'll play havoc with our system and how it downloads and how they work back and forth. So with the $2,000, if the board were allow us to move forward with that supplemental grant award, I would be paying an additional $32,7302 out of the operating budget, which I do have and can come up with. So I wouldn't be drawing money from anywhere other
That budget,
source.
we sure do come up with a lot of money in that budget.
Well, I gotta say that in some areas
Just
COVID
before
helped.
budget season.
In other areas, it didn't help. So,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with this.
We need for a motion to accept the grant.
Approve as recommended.
Well, we already did the grant when we allowed them to get them, to put in for them all. That was at the beginning.
no, the
of
$2,000 is a
separate.
supplemental. It's above and
It's
beyond.
separate.
Oh.
The $2,000 that they're giving us, we hadn't, that wasn't in my previous a proposal to the board.
Oh.
It's above and beyond that. So,
Okay.
This is new.
yeah,
Mhm.
so.
Right, this is a
No,
new
then
one.
yeah, we're
New
gonna have to
2000.
accept the grant and allow him to buy it.
Yep.
Well, I don't think we have to allow them. Well,
Yeah, we have to give him the okay.
It's over the dollar amount. You gotta sign off on it.
I make a motion that we accept the grant from the highway safety for $2,000 and allow the police department to purchase the Rhino tablet, the amount of $5,273.02, and the difference from the grant and the 5,000 will come out of the police operating budget
In the sum of 3,273.
of the sum of $3,273.02.
Second.
I'll second it.
More discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, number 5. Emergency management discussion for COVID and make sure that we're set up for fall in case things turn nasty again.
What's that?
No, you weren't really prepared for this, but just, there's been some questions in town. people
Sure.
Asking, the governor doesn't have a mandate. There doesn't seem to be anything at play yet. I know some people concerned as to where you, as emergency management, are thinking in terms of this fall.
Yeah. Right now-
Mandatory inoculations.
So right now, as you know, the emergency management team for the state of emergency when it was active has, dissolved at this point. But just to reassure you folks and the rest of the general public is that we have an emergency management team that's in play all the time. Myself, the fire chief, and my lieutenant are all emergency management. I'm the director, and both of them are deputy directors. We all are constantly monitoring the situation. We all constantly are receiving information and correspondence back and forth with Homeland Security Emergency Management. We're getting regular updates on numbers, any information passed on in regards to immunizations, what the current recommendations are at the state and federal level. And we are monitoring all of that. I mean, just today, I received an email about the recommendations on the third vaccine for Pfizer and Moderna for people with extremely compromised immune systems and things of that nature. And they have some informational links that go along with that. So I constantly am getting information like that, and we are monitoring the situation, even though we're not in a current state of emergency. The numbers are increasing, and I'm sure that's where a lot of the questions are coming from. The state of New Hampshire as a whole, our numbers are drastically increasing, and locally, we're starting to see some numbers climb locally. In some recent developments and information I've got, there's been some exposures. So we're keeping a close eye on it, but given the fact that the state of New Hampshire is not in a state of emergency, we're not inclined to impose any sanctions or regulations at this point. That in turn would have to come under the authority of the board if we wanted to do some sort of local ordinance. That is always an option. I think you might have seen that before some of the regulations and executive orders coming out, like for instance, the city of Portsmouth put an ordinance in play mandating masks before the governor's office ever did. So there are certain things that we can do locally. It is limited to some degree and obviously a very contentious issue, to do something like that ahead of the state. But what I can do is, it would, if the board would like, I can come back at a later date with a more definitive proposal or plan, I should say, not necessarily a proposal, because it's got to be a fluid plan, because it's going to change by the numbers and how things are going. But we can at least get a consensus of, how the team members feel about where we're at with the numbers. Obviously, we lean a lot on the fire chief with his advice about what he's seeing for the numbers, because the medical field, let's face it, is his forte. He provides a great deal of knowledge when it comes to that. I would like the opportunity to consult with them and make sure we're all on the same page moving forward to come back to the board and just sort of let you know where we stand and what we're looking at. And by all means, if all of a sudden we see something very alarming, you folks will be the first ones to hear from me. That's for sure. So we haven't washed our hands of it completely. We never will on any of the emergencies. So we're constantly monitoring
That's
it.
what I want to make sure that we're set going into fall and that we're going up, not down still.
Sure,
That we're
absolutely.
Prepared to,
Mhm.
we got to do.
Right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
a little research I've done, I've come up with a very high percentage of the new cases. I'm not talking about children.
Right.
They're in the 90%. People that are not vaccinated.
Right.
I don't know if that's right or wrong. I would like some information on that. And the other issue is a few of them have got it that are vaccinated. But from what I found is they aren't sick. They aren't seriously sick. They're not hospitalized. They're not in the hospital. So that's important to me because I'm sorry, I got vaccinated.
Mhm.
And I think if we're going to do anything, we should instill in people the importance to get vaccinated.
Yep.
And we're kind of losing that now. I mean, I'm talking about the media, the TV and so forth.
I think they should have made it mandatory.
So.
Well, we're living in a world.
Really can't.
Well, this is food for thought, and I'm not sitting up here advocating that we put an ordinance mandating vaccines in the town of Alton. But at the same time, I will tell you that one of the email communications I got before I came up here tonight, just today, was from the ICAP, which is the International Chiefs of Police Association. And I obviously, put a lot of stock in what I hear from the organization nationally. And the city of New Orleans just put an ordinance into play just now requiring any visitor to show proof of immunization or vaccination or a negative PCR test before you even enter the city. You can't go into any indoor venue. You have to keep the proof on you. And this is very important because New Orleans is actually the host of the International Chiefs Conference this year. So they put it out advising on what the steps that New Orleans is taking, but they're also putting it out, telling every one of the police chiefs and all of their people, their administrative staff that are going to be going to this conference, which is huge every year. There'll be tens of thousands of cops there. Every single one of them has to bring proof of immunization before they'll even be allowed to enter the venue.
It's
So
getting that way to
and
travel.
so
Even just
The
to
issue
travel or
with
go on
that
vacation.
is, that all sounds good,
Mhm.
fine. But all you have for proof is a stupid little card.
Yep.
And those can be black marketed.
They already are.
Believe me.
Of course they can.
So
Yeah.
I don't think it's.
I mean, nothing's going to be a foolproof answer to that. Like you said, there's no forgery proof documents for stuff like that. But at the same token, it does make it a little bit more difficult than just doing nothing.
Exactly.
And one of the biggest things that we have to be concerned ourselves with is anybody that's been down to the bay on Saturday or Sunday knows that 3/4 of our population is from out of state right now, coming in every weekend. That's not all a bad thing, but there's a lot of traveling going to and from.
The people that got
gotta
vaccinated,
thank him.
I don't see why I should have to prove that I got vaccinated. I mean, I got vaccinated and I haven't got it. And
Where's
I
your
didn't get it
card?
before.
You got your card on you?
And yeah, but I mean,
see proof
history
right now.
shows that if I do get it, it's not going to be serious.
Mhm.
But in the same aspect of that, is I didn't get vaccinated and I don't plan on it.
Well, that's your.
I've had COVID. I've fought COVID off. I have an immune system for a reason. I don't think anybody should tell me that I have to get a shot. I don't.
That's your right.
I think that's his right, and I think that's
I
anybody's
think that's
right.
anybody's right, is what I'm getting, at,
But-
not just mine.
But I understand it. If you're traveling to other countries and you're going on vacation, you're flying abroad, these other countries and other places want to see proof or want to see people that are vaccinated.
Mhm.
So it's going to be a force play. You want to go anywhere, you want to do anything, you're
Right.
going to have to be
I
vaccinated.
agree with you.
And one of the main
That's
things.
what's going to be,
Yeah.
that's what it's going to be.
And again, don't take this the wrong way. I'm providing you with information. I'm not advocating one way or the other that the town should take a stance with that. And I don't think that necessarily, I don't want to say emergency management's job is not to take a stance for the community. It is there to help and protect the community, but more importantly, when it comes to, like you say, a force play for travel and things like that, those are the things we need to be looking at for our town employees. Because the reason is if they compromise us, it'll shut the town down. Our essential services will shut down. And that's the most important part that we have to look at firsthand, is that we don't bring some sort of exposure into here. And of course, we're going to be looking a lot closer at the numbers in regards to the variant,
Mhm.
the Delta variant and things like that. The anomalies that are occurring and what's happening to make sure that, because now there's a question as to whether or not the vaccine's ever going to even, it's not going to protect some people from the variant, the Delta variant and different things like that. So there's a lot, there's just a lot of
Too many
information to come
unknowns.
out. Yeah, there is.
Period.
There is.
End. There's too many unknowns.
Yep.
And the long-term result of the vaccinations are unknown.
Well, that's, I just
But-
wanted to make sure that we had some type of plan.
And I think that
Looking
plan,
at it.
again, I don't want to speak too soon until we get there. And, I mean, I consult with everybody else, but that plan is going to look a lot like being prepared and making sure the town employees are prepared for us to go back into these regulations of, if you're going to travel out of state, you need to get a test before you come back to work, symptoms, things like that. We've lifted all that. We're at ease right now, but if we start seeing rises in numbers, we got to make sure it stays out of town hall. We got to make sure it stays out of emergency services. So we don't cripple any one department or the whole town in that sense. So.
My theory on it is if you're vaccinated,
Mhm.
then it shouldn't matter whether I'm vaccinated or not, you're covered. So it's my choice whether, you know what I mean? It's true. You're vaccinated, you're protecting yourself. And I just think it's everybody's individual right to decide whether they
Absolutely.
have it or wear a mask or whatever. It's
Mhm.
every
Mandatory.
country we live in as far as right now.
Yeah, you
Anyway.
get tortured.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you very much.
And I want to thank you, Chief, for putting your cones out by the community center on Saturday night.
Okay.
Got to slide one back, perfect parking spot, nobody out there. It was perfect. It was my wife's birthday. I said, see, I had the fireworks put on for your birthday. Nobody around. I says, they coned this off just for you. Okay, moving on. Selectmen reports. Bob. Paul.
Just planning looking forward and hoping the ski show will happen on the 21st, weather permitting. And we've been keeping a close eye on the lake levels. We were a little concerned about that, so we are going to have a walkabout in the bay on Wednesday,
Bring some bricks with you,
just to see.
Sheets of plywood.
But it is coming down, the level's coming down, so general consensus, it should be pretty good. That's it.
I'd like to say nice job for the Old Home Week Committee and Kelly, because the parade was
Very good.
close to 2
Yeah, I had a
miles.
lot of positive comments.
Mhm.
Parade was huge this year.
Yep.
To organize that stuff, they did a great job.
The Alton Business Association, I think,
Yes.
under the umbrella of.
Okay, well, we'll thank them too.
Yep.
But even the fireworks and stuff, they were fantastic. They did a nice job.
Fireworks was a great display.
Thanks to you guys.
It was worth it.
Yep.
All right, town administrator reports.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just have one item. I'm looking for 1 or 2 selectmen to participate with myself and the town clerk and the moderator in looking at election sites. Would anyone like to volunteer? It would be during daytime hours, and we would be looking at a few different sites. I don't know,
When
during
are you
business
thinking?
hours, within the next few weeks.
We contacted the school to see if they would take a teacher's workshop.
So that'll be part of it, but we have to. So I'm just looking for,
Okay.
it would be helpful to us if we had at least one selectman that could go with us to these sites.
I open my big mouth, I'll do it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
And I would mention that on conservation, Russ Wilder elected for that committee for the state for the 10-year plan on 11.
Oh, the cat.
So it'll be Ruben and,
CAC committee.
yeah, so it'll be Ruben and Russ Wilder
Okay,
and planning boards tomorrow night. I'll get somebody on it for tomorrow night.
okay, thank you.
Moving on, approval of minutes, August 2nd, 2021.
I move we approve the minutes. Take a second as written.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
August 2nd, 2021, non-public session. Can we let two out too or no? I know one can't go out.
Neither.
Neither.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve August 2nd, 2021, non-public session and keeping 1 and 2 sealed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No discussionary action. We have none, no appointments. Public input limited to 5 minutes per person on any government or town business.
We do have the
Consent agenda.
consent agenda.
Did I miss it? Oh, I
Yes,
did
you
miss
did.
it. Jeez, I'm doing good tonight. Hang on a minute. Then we'll go, we gotta go to consent agenda first.
I move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we'll go to public input. 5 minutes per person, any town business.
just what we talked about tonight.
Nope.
Okay, I just have a couple comments about bucket trucks. I ran them for 20 years. My biggest one was an 89-foot one. Number one, I think the state requires certification to run a bucket truck. I had to go to school. Two, the type of chassis you guys are putting that on, and you can check, Scott. You can only put 300 pounds in the bucket fully extended. So that's something you should check out.
Okay.
Because I couldn't get in the small buckets. I was over 300 pounds, so no tools could go up with me. Just something to think, I'm not for it, I'm not against it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just something you
Thank you.
guys should
That's-
look at.
It's very helpful.
Good information.
So does it have stabilizers? If it has stabilizers, what I just talked about,
Doesn't look it.
yeah, okay. But that's something you want to check. Fully extended used to be 300 pounds. So that's just something you got to look at, and certification. Yeah. So you know yourself, you put tools in it, and a guy my size, you're not going up in the air. Yeah, actually, we've seen them flip. Actually, you go fully extended, I've actually seen the trucks go right over.
I was over on one in the White River Junction Bridge, right underneath it.
Yeah. So just something for you guys to consider.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lauren Carr. On the design build specifications for the Loon Cove Bridge, Brock asked about the prefab. Is this a prefab specifications or is this a cast in place?
They're gonna put the specifications in design build. They're gonna
Yeah, which
design it.
one? Cast in place or as Brock said, we could save some money with a precast.
No, the way I read the bid was they're gonna design. They're gonna design it. Ship it,
Looking for
and for what they could do in a certain amount of time. Engineering drawing.
specifications now.
Don't you guys think you ought to know before you
No,
okayed
it's-
it?
That's what we
it's,
did. It is.
Yeah,
It
no,
is what?
Design
Cast in-
build.
Is it cast in place or
It's
precast?
gonna be both. It's designed build companies.
I see what you're saying,
I s-
Warren. But
I get it.
that wasn't specified, it wasn't,
No,
but I think we're opening it up for either side to just get, if you're doing a precast,
Yeah.
give us a bid on a precast, which everybody, I'm pretty sure everybody in the room knows it's gonna be
Mhm.
cheaper, but, and then your, built-in place is a lot more.
Okay, are you telling me that the specifications aren't for a
Can I make-
cast in place or is it precast?
I make a recommendation. Let's have Mr. Kidman come up and explain on his RFP what it means.
That sounds good.
There's a couple ways you can build a bridge.
Thank you.
You can either do a precast.
Yeah.
Or you can
Cast in place.
cast in place.
Okay.
And whoever wants to fill this paperwork out and submit it, they can submit it either way.
There you go.
That's the way I'm reading it.
That's the way I
As
understand.
long as it meets the DOT standards under the HL
That's what design
93,
build means.
then
Design build.
they can design us a bridge.
So all your specifications just say, I want a bridge X long and that's it?
Yep. It's up to them.
By
to put
state
together the
specs.
Specifications and everything for it.
Okay.
Because I've seen them both.
Design build.
And people may bid this both ways. They may build it as a precast. I know some companies that don't do as much precast and they
Right.
put steel girders up and then they go ahead and they put the forms up and then they go ahead and form it. I don't think that, we'll see what comes out of this one. I think that'd be a little bit much and probably be pretty.
That's pretty much the way I understood it. It's a design build. It remains to be seen what they come up with.
Because
Okay.
we discussed this before.
Mhm.
That's what we came up with.
Thank
You do
you.
the specifications, you hire your own engineer. And, $250,000 later, you'll have a set of specifications and somebody can bid on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The bucket truck. I don't know. I got kind of mixed feelings about this. It's another piece of equipment that's going to be kind of sitting for a long periods of time. No, it's like the excavator. Okay, we use it 4 or 5 months of the year and then it sits and are we sure we're not better off just renting this piece of equipment as we need it? I mean, should we consider that it's going to sit a lot? Anyway, I put that out. It's another piece of equipment. And the Church Street and School Street. 2 meetings ago, I believe it was, the water department is spending a lot of time down there. You talked about having to put a wall up by Canalison's. Have we kept track of how much these items are costing the town over what we had them, what the bid was for that
Yes.
project? Do you have any idea what it is?
I'm not sure yet. That's coming up. They've got track of their time and everything that's spent over there and everything, all the water department's time, town's time, whatever it is. They're all keeping track of everything.
Has there been any change orders in that project too?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Was that, have we had cost overruns on this project?
Well, we haven't had cost overruns. We've had, where the water departments had to help them and some of the town crew had to help them one day. That we're keeping track of hourly and stuff.
Will that money come back to us?
We hope.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's good. One thing else, Virgil, I did check on all the roads that we built when I was a selectman. I went back on my records.
Mhm.
Coffin Brook was rebuilt in its entirety. Stockbridge Corner was built in its entirety. Powder Mill was built in its entirety. Dudley Road was built in its entirety. So who's ever telling you guys it was done piecemeal is wrong. I went over every road.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you said that it was, I can't remember the word he said. Do you remember the word? You said that the roads were done
Well, we rehab them.
rehab.
Right.
Well, they weren't rehab. They were built in their entirety. So I went back on all my records and checked it. And each road was done by specs and they were done in their entirety. We did 40 miles of road that year.
No, 4 miles.
What's that?
4 miles.
40. I commended Kinney that year at the Deliverance.
If you're doing 40 miles of road in 1 year with a small crew like that.
Yep.
And rebuilding the complete
And
road,
we did
then we
do
got
that.
something wrong because it ain't figuring.
40 miles. Check it. Check it when I was a selectman. I got up at Deliverance and thanked Kinney for his great work. 40 miles of road we did that year.
What year was that?
God, what's it, 10 years ago now? I'm like that, maybe more. But that we did. He did a great job that year. I'll give him credit.
Thank you.
Warren Carrigan, the solid waste department, 3-year brush chipping bid. Is that just chipping brush down there or is that a drum, a grinder? I mean, we just bought a chipper, right? 20-inch
Yeah, but
chipper.
this is all the brush that everybody hauls in. It's just one big pushed pile up there that they just claw it in and feed.
I think it's a tub grinder.
It's a
Tub
drum.
grinder.
It's a drum.
Thank you.
It makes the chips out of it and they, yeah.
It's a drum. From what I understand.
Yeah, it's not just a regular.
No, it's a drum.
Okay, anybody else? Seeing none, we are gonna close public input. We have nothing for non,
Thank you.
thank you. We have nothing for non-pub tonight. I will entertain a motion.
There's nothing.
Nothing for non-pub, no.
That's right.
Even Lizzie's gonna yell at us.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Something wrong.
Well, nothing for non-public. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.